I slipped into a massage parlor just to use the restroom and ended up right in the middle of a police raid. Before I could even open my mouth, they slapped cuffs on me. The officer leading the interrogation was none other than my ex, Vanessa Blake. She gave me a sharp once-over, cold as ice. "So what was your package of choice?" she asked, voice thick with sarcasm. I thought about the hot dog I'd almost snagged from the cart next door, the all-in special. I answered honestly. A smirk tugged at her lips. "A few years pass, and look at you now. Didn't peg you for this kind of thing, Max." Sitting across from Vanessa in the interrogation room, she twirled a pen between her fingers, her eyes scanning me like a frozen lake, empty, flat, unyielding. I'd replayed this moment 1,000 times in my head, but never like this. Her, the cop. Me, the suspect. Just an hour ago, I was buying that hot dog, the vendor loading it with chili and cheese. Then my bladder staged a mutiny. I glanced next door at Serenity Spa. Pristine. Perfect. I wanted to ask for the bathroom, but the woman at the front desk, face heavy with makeup, shot me a harsh look. Restrooms for customers only. This was a 5-alarm emergency. There were no other businesses nearby. I clasped my hands, practically begging, even pulled out my phone, ready to Venmo her $10 for the favor. Her eyes darted around nervously. "Fine," she said, like she was doing me some huge favor. "Down the hall, last door on the right. But listen, don't see nothing, don't hear nothing." "Got it." I nodded, took care of business, and was about to leave, feeling way better when I heard the pounding of boots outside. A shout. "Police!" Chaos exploded. Cops stormed in, glanced around, and barked in monotone, "Round them all up." My stomach sank. "Officer, wait. This isn't my scene. I just came for the bathroom." A young cop gave me a sidelong look. "Let me guess. First time here? Had no clue what this place is?" I blinked, nodded, thinking, this guy's sharp. He just snorted. "Heard that one before. Seen guys like you a million times. Save it for the station." As they hauled me to the cruiser, I caught the hot dog vendor staring, mouth hanging open. The car pulled away, and it finally clicked for him. He started running after us, yelling, "Hey man, you're all in special. Gone, but not forgotten." The precinct was jam-packed. They'd busted a whole crew tonight. I found a corner to disappear into, desperate to figure out how to prove I was clean. A woman with fiery red hair and a dress that looked painted on nudged my arm. "First time, big guy?" she purred. I nodded. Her eyes widened in disbelief. I immediately waved my hands. No, not like that." The young cop from before barked across the room. "You two in the cornered up blondie in the tight dress and flip-flops, what are you whispering about? This isn't a mixer. Get over here." As we moved toward him, someone stepped up behind him. Our eyes met in a collision I wasn't ready for. I dropped my gaze instantly. "Vanessa Blake." "What's going on, Miller?" she asked coolly. Officer Miller gave a quick rundown, emphasizing how we were flirting. In the holding cell, I snapped my head up and locked eyes with Vanessa. There was a flickered up mockery. My mind went blank. Those eyes once held so much love, then soul-deep hate. But this? Just cold indifference. "I'll take him," Vanessa said, pointing at me. The fluorescent glare of the interrogation room was brutal and clinical. Vanessa was all business. After running through the usual questions, I was the first to crack. A cocky grin spread across my face. "Officer Blake, you already know this stuff, right?" Her pen froze midair. She looked up, gaze pinning me in place. "So what was your package of choice?" she asked again. I hesitated, then said, "The all-in special. The hot dog guy said it's the biggest, best bang for your buck." A ghost of a smile flickered across Vanessa's composed face. Her tone was icy. "A few years passed, and look at you, Max. I underestimated you. Had no idea you were into this stuff." I rushed to explain the whole dumb story from the desperate bathroom break to the hot dog cart. Just then, Officer Miller peeked in, whispered something to Vanessa, and left. Without looking at me, Vanessa said, "We checked the security footage. The front desk woman confirmed your story. You were just using the bathroom. You're free to go." Relief flooded me. As I headed out, Miller's attitude shifted. He glanced between Vanessa and me, a grin spreading across his face. He snapped his fingers. "Oh, I knew it, Vanessa. Isn't this the guy from the photo in your wallet? I thought you looked familiar." Vanessa still had a picture of me? A tangle of emotions twisted in my gut. "That was years ago, Miller. Threw that out long ago." "Surprised you remember it," Vanessa said sharply, amusement just barely hidden. I clenched my fists. A bitter smile played on my lips. We'd been broken up for 5 years. The breakup was a disaster. Why keep my picture? As she walked me to the precinct door, Vanessa's voice softened. Sorry about all this. We should have done better surveillance. You didn't deserve to get caught up. It's fine, I said, forcing casual. Just a misunderstanding. It's all cleared up now. I'm out. I turned to leave, but she called my name. I looked back, puzzled. Under the harsh entryway lights, Vanessa bit her lip. You doing okay? She asked quietly. Your wife, your kid, they okay? A sharp pain stabbed my chest, but I forced a bright, easy smile. We're good. Just a regular guy, you know? Putting food on the table. It's all good. My phone buzzed. I answered. A silky female voice cooed. Where have you been, devil? Get your butt home. On my way, I said. Vanessa's face hardened, turning to stone. I thought you and your wife were inseparable. Already with someone else, Max? No shame. I raised an eyebrow, a smirk playing on my lips. You, of all people, know exactly what I'm capable of when I have no shame. I got a reaction. A bitter laugh choked her. Her eyes reddened as she spun and walked away without another word. Watching her leave, I fought every instinct to chase her, to pull her into my arms like old times. But I couldn't. I had bigger battles to fight. Vanessa and I met in high school. She was the golden girl. The star student, the good girl from a good family, the princess from the right side of the tracks. Me? A stray from the wrong side. A wild dog from the alleys. My dad gambled away everything, drove my mom away while she was pregnant with my sister. We came from two very different worlds. But our worlds collided one rainy afternoon. A pack of local punks had Vanessa trapped in a narrow alley. She was drenched, her cheeks still marked by fresh red handprints, but her chin was defiantly raised. Spotting her chance, she bolted right into my chest. I looked down at her with a cocky grin. Ask me nicely, I said, and maybe I'll help. She pressed her lips tight, then muttered, please. My grin widened. I ruffled her soaked hair and shoved her behind me. When it came to fights, I never backed down. Not because I was the toughest, but because I wasn't scared to die. Nobody'd miss me anyway. The punks scattered fast. The next time I saw Vanessa was months later in a classroom I hadn't dared enter in ages. Ignoring the whispers, I slouched into a back row seat. The next day, a carefully packed lunch appeared in my desk, accompanied by a small note. I unfolded it. In neat, elegant handwriting, thank you. For weeks after, I did something I hadn't done in years. I showed up every single day. And every day, a new incredible lunch waited for me. One afternoon, I caught her in the hallway. What's the deal? I asked, trying to ask me out or something. Vanessa glanced up, cool and calm. I'm just saying thanks. You should focus on your studies. Anything else? We'll talk after the SATs. I took the hint and let her slip away. Someone must have seen us because the next day the school was buzzing with rumors. That Ethan Blake guy? Sure, he's decent looking, they said. But with his family? Vanessa would never go for him. High school flew by. After graduation, I enrolled in the police academy. Unaware Vanessa had done the same. Her mother stormed the school, screaming and crying. She even slapped Vanessa right in front of the dean. But Vanessa's mind was made up. The night before her 18th birthday, I got a text from her. Birthday tomorrow. You coming? I pictured her biting her lip. I replied, I'll be there. I ordered a cake ahead, threw on a clean white shirt and jeans, and tried to look presentable. On my way, I ran into the same punk crew from the alley. Old enemies, new opportunity. This time they brought more guys and bats. They smiled arrogantly. By the time I was done with them, night had fallen. Blood seeped through my white shirt. I fumbled for the cake box that was smashed to bits. I picked it up anyway, then checked my phone. A text from Vanessa. Are you still coming? Wiping blood off my face, I typed back, wait for me. It was late when I finally arrived at her house. Vanessa stood under the porch light in a pure white dress, saying goodbye to her guests. One was a guy our age. Glasses, preppy, polite. Vanessa patted his shoulder, laughing at something he said. I cleared my throat. They both turned. Compared to him, I looked like a wreck. Vanessa's smile vanished when she saw the blood on my shirt replaced by pure panic. The preppy guy realized what was happening. We need to get you to a hospital, he said seriously. Vanessa grabbed my hand to pull me inside, but I squeezed back, stopping her. She looked confused. My voice was ice cold. I thought you said no boyfriends. Were you just playing me? She paused, then a mischievous smile bloomed. Her eyes flicked to the guy with glasses, and they shared a look. Now I was the one confused. She let out a soft laugh, eyes full of teasing. Yeah, I was playing you. What are you going to do about it? I looked down, slowly loosening my grip. The guy couldn't take it anymore. He stepped forward. Hi, he said, extending a hand. I'm her cousin. Vanessa took me to the emergency room. After they patched me up, we sat on a bench in the long, sterile hallway. Vanessa picked up the mangled cake box and studied it. Sorry, I muttered. I ruined it. She shook her head, then leaned her head against my shoulder. You came, she said softly. That's all that matters. I took a deep breath. Vanessa, I said, if you like playing games so much, why don't you just keep playing them with me for the rest of your life? College was the best time of my life. We studied together, trained together, went on dates. The gap between our families was huge, but I was sure that if I worked hard enough that I could win her parents over. Then I got the call from my deadbeat dad. He told me my sister, whom I'd never met, that was back in town, and she was pregnant. When I got home, Izzy was sitting at the kitchen table, putting on makeup, bracelets jingling on her wrist. She glanced up. You look like you've seen a ghost. Ran into my ex today, I said quietly. Her hand paused midair. Oh, she drawled. The one whose picture you hide under your bed? You went through my stuff? I asked sharply. Izzy's face turned serious. I'm trying to remind you, Max. When you're deep undercover, you can't leave a single thread for anyone to pull. She finished drawing her eyebrow, then stood. All seductive grace, she patted my cheek on the way out. We're close to the end, she whispered. Be careful. Don't screw this up now. I walked silently to my bedroom. From a loose floorboard under the bed, I pulled out a small box. Inside was a single photograph that a girl laughing beneath a blue sky and green grass, her white dress billowing in the wind. Vanessa. A familiar ache tightened in my chest. I closed my eyes, remembering how I was the one who'd shattered that smile. After the call from my dad, I'd taken leave and rushed home. He was drunk, passed out on the couch, muttering curses. My sister Nina was curled in a corner, tears in her swollen eyes, arms bruised. That afternoon was the first time Nina and I truly talked. She told me her mom had started a new life and decided Nina was a burden. She'd sent Nina to find our biological father, but he'd got desperate to pay off gambling debts, who tried to sell her for a night to one of his buddies. When she refused, he beat her nearly to death. A little while later, she found out she was pregnant. A few days after, Vanessa's mother showed up at me. Dressed in a sharp business suit, hair perfect, she looked me in the eye. You and Vanessa aren't a match. Break up with her. I stayed up all night, chain-smoking. As dawn broke, I sent Vanessa a single text. We're done. Then I turned off my phone. The next time I saw her was at a crowded market. I was helping Nina with groceries. As we left, I spotted Vanessa nearby, silent, thinner, hair a mess, eyes swollen. I closed my eyes for a moment, took a steadying breath, grabbed Nina's hand, and walked straight up to her. The shattered look on Vanessa's face stabbed my heart, but I forced myself to meet her gaze. This is why, I said slowly and deliberately, she's pregnant. What was I supposed to do, Vanessa? Remember when you said you were playing me? Well, now it's my turn to play you. To be honest, I added, twisting the knife, she's way better in bed than you ever were. You're always so. A sharp slap cracked across my face. Vanessa's lips trembled. You have no heart, Max Blake. Over the next few weeks, Vanessa came by a few times, trying to see me without being noticed. She was terrible at hiding. With my training, I spotted her every time. And every time, I made a show of holding Nina, acting like the devoted boyfriend. Soon after, I was kicked out of the police academy for missing too many days. Vanessa's life and mine had officially split into two distant, irreconcilable tracks. Recalling Izzy's warning, I took the photo of Vanessa, the one where she was laughing, sunlight in her hair, and dropped it into a small metal dish. I lit a match and watched the flames lick the edges, curling them inward until the image was nothing but blackened ash. Just like the flames devoured that bright, smiling girl, they'd already devoured the hopeful boy I used to be. My phone buzzed. It was Vince, my handler. Max, he said, voice low and tense. The cops picked up Rick, but they've got nothing concrete. Get to the station, smooth things over, and get him out. So I found myself back at the precinct. Officer Miller again. When I told him I was there for Rick, the smile dropped from his face. What's your relationship with Rick? He asked coldly. We're friends, I replied without hesitation. Contempt flashed across his face. This guy, Rick, we're pretty sure he's tied to a trafficking ring. A lot of missing persons lately trace back to him. And you're friends with that? I gave him a lazy smirk, pulling out a cigarette and twirling it between my fingers. Offered him one. He waved it off like it was poison. I didn't care. Officer Miller, I said slowly, you keep calling my friend a trafficker. So where's your proof? I leaned back, eyes on the clock. Without charges, you've got 48 hours. You've got 15 minutes left. I'll wait. His disgust deepened, but before he could respond, a familiar voice cut in, tinged with amusement. Don't waste your breath, Miller. He knows the law better than you do. He was in the academy, remember? Vanessa. Miller stared at me like I'd just grown horns. You were in the academy, and now you're rolling with this kind of trash? You're a disgrace. I didn't flinch. I'd been called worse. Vanessa wasn't looking at me. Her gaze stayed fixed on the floor, lost in her own storm. Miller grunted and headed toward the interrogation room. But just then, Vanessa suddenly doubled over, clutching her stomach. Her face twisted in pain, pale as a ghost, cold sweat beading on her brow. Everything else dropped away. I rushed forward, catching her before she collapsed. For once, she didn't resist. Her body sagged against mine, her voice barely a whisper. Max, that hurts. My heart seized. I scooped her up and sprinted for the exit, ignoring Miller's stunned expression and Rick's, who had just been let out of the back. At the hospital, Vanessa lay unconscious in a hospital bed, for in her arm. I stood at the doorway for a long moment, then slipped out quietly. She wouldn't want to see me when she woke. The doctor told me it was acute gastritis. Stress, lack of food, pushing herself too hard. She looked thinner than ever. I opened DoorDash and ordered a container of chicken soup, a few soft fruits, and snacks she used to love. When the driver arrived, I gave him a $20 tip. I need you to take this in, I said. And keep your phone on. I want to hear what she says. Just as I predicted, her voice came through the speaker, soft but cautious. Who sent this? The driver stuck to the script. No idea, ma'am. There was no name. I heard the rustle of the bag. Why are you still here? Vanessa asked. The driver, reading my latest text, answered, says in the notes I have to watch you drink the soup. Sorry, ma'am. Just doing my job. A pause. Then her voice again, laced with dry amusement. Really now? Why don't you have him come in and ask me himself? The driver bolted out of the room like the place was haunted. I walked in, a little embarrassed. Next time, I need a better actor. Vanessa didn't look at me. She sipped her soup calmly. When she finished, she wiped her mouth with a napkin. Thanks for this, she said flatly. But don't do it again. I don't need you to take care of me. 5 years. That's how long she'd been just fine without me. I nodded silently and walked out. No reason to stay. But the moment I hit the hallway, I nearly collided with Izzy. She wrapped her arms around my neck, whispering in a teasing voice. But her words were anything but playful. They're onto me, she breathed. They're starting to suspect. If anything happens, Locker 3. Northgate Mall. Go. What's in there? It's bigger than either of us. I pulled her close, burying my face in her hair so I could whisper back without being seen. To anyone watching, we looked like lovers sharing a long overdue embrace. Behind me, I heard the sound of glass shattering. I turned. Vanessa stood at the end of the hallway, a water glass shattered at her feet, her face as white as the bed sheets. Izzy pressed even closer to me, smirking. And who's this? She asked sweetly. My ex, I said without thinking. Izzy stood on tiptoe and kissed my cheek. You lucky man, she said loudly, her eyes glinting. Such a gorgeous ex. She took a half step back, eyes flicking to Vanessa. You know, sweetheart, Izzy said casually, I think you made a big mistake letting this one go. Sometimes, you've got to look with your heart, not just your eyes. With a wink, she turned and strode down the hall, hips swaying. Vanessa's voice finally found strength. What about your wife and your son? She snapped. Who was that woman? I looked her dead in the eyes, voice flat as a dead line. They died, I said. 5 years ago. Her breath caught. How? She asked. Was it murder? A slow, cruel smile spread across my lips. Officer Blake, I said, deliberately using her badge name. You sure seem interested in the women in my life. Makes a guy wonder. Maybe you're not over him yet. I turned away. See you around. Or not. She stood frozen, jaw tight, body rigid. But I didn't look back. If Izzy had shown up like this, I knew one thing for sure. Something was about to go very, very wrong, and I needed to be ready. I retrieved the package from locker number 3 at Northgate Mall and made the drop to my contact without incident. But on my way home, everything went sideways. A burlap sack was yanked over my head. Someone zip-tied my wrist behind my back and tossed me into the back of a van like I was a bag of trash. They dragged me into a warehouse. A boot slammed into my shin, and I collapsed to my knees in pain. The bag was ripped off, and I blinked up into the smug face of Vince Rinaldi. Rick stood just behind him, arms crossed, his face unreadable. Vince lounged in a cracked leather armchair like he owned the world, dragging on a cigarette with practiced ease. "Max," he said, smoke curling from his lips. "How long you been with me now?" "5 years," I answered without hesitation. "You're a damn good soldier. Tough, smart, fearless. But," he leaned forward, eyes narrowing, "you almost became a cop. That makes me uneasy." He exhaled a slow smoke ring. "My operation's massive. The feds, the locals, they've had eyes on me for years. We all know the occasional rat slips in. So, Max, tell me the truth. You clean?" No one, not even Vanessa, knew the real reason we broke up. I'd been recruited for deep cover the day before my father's call. The memory twisted my gut, but I kept my cool. "Boss," I said with a dry laugh, "the day I signed up with you, I crossed the line. Cops and I, we don't share sides." Vince didn't respond. Instead, he nodded to one of his men. A moment later, they dragged in a large canvas bag soaked in dried blood and dropped it at my feet. They unzipped it. Izzy, or what was left of her. Her eyes were gone, two gaping, hollow pits. Her torso had been carved open, everything inside her ripped out. The scene was horrifyingly familiar, exactly like how they'd found Nina 5 years ago. My eyes locked on the bracelet still clinging to Izzy's limp wrist. "Boss," I said, keeping my voice calm, "that's my girl. Did she piss someone off?" As I spoke, a searing pain tore through my leg. I looked down, a knife buried deep into my thigh, blood pouring out. "Did you know," Vince said, voice icy calm, "that she was a cop?" I gritted my teeth, widened my eyes like a stunned idiot, and shook my head. "No way. She never said a word." "You sure?" His expression faltered just slightly. I had him that he wasn't fully convinced. Rick stepped in, full of venom. "I saw her myself. She was at a graveyard, leaving flowers on a cop's tombstone. She didn't confess, but it's obvious." He sneered. "And you were her boyfriend. You think that doesn't make you suspicious?" I forced a shaky smile. "Plenty of women chase me. She was convenient, kept other girls off my back. Hell, we both saw her flirting at the club last month. That red dress. Half her chest was out. I didn't say anything then, did I?" Vince took another drag, watching me through the smoke. "And Vanessa Blake? The detective? Rick saw you carry her into the hospital like she was your wife." My heart lurched, but I kept the mask on. "That one's on me. She's my ex. She was sick. Old habits, you know. Got a soft spot for women in trouble." Vince leaned back in his chair, quiet. "Then, you don't strike me as the woman-chasing type. You don't fool around much. But the only 2 women you've been close to, both tied to the cops. Why the hell should I trust you?" Suddenly, cold metal pressed against my forehead. "My rule's simple," Vince said. "Better to kill one of my own than let a rat slip through." He gave the order with a flick of his hand. "Do it." "Wait," I yelled. "If I die, we all go down together." I yanked open my jacket. Strapped to my chest, what looked like live explosives. Wired to a dead man's switch in my hand. "You drop me, this whole building becomes a crater." Vince jumped to his feet, face going red with rage. "What the hell are you doing?" Rick backed up, twitching like a cornered dog. "I warned you, Vince." I barked, laughing coldly. "In this line of work, you taught me yourself, always be ruthless. I'm a nobody. I die, nobody blinks. But you?" I didn't finish the sentence. "You've got no hard evidence I'm a UC. Just suspicions. This," I gestured to the vest, "is my insurance policy. So you don't make the wrong call and end up losing the loyalty of your real soldiers." Vince glanced toward Rick, his expression darkening. Rick started to sweat. "Boss, don't let him mess with your head. He's cornered. He's desperate." I snorted. "Desperate? You're the one who got picked up by the cops. And you stayed late. Who's to say you didn't crack under pressure? Who's really cozy with the cops here?" Vince's glare turned ice cold. It landed on Rick like a blade. I pressed on. "You've known him longer." "Sure. But I'm the one you trust with your top crew. Maybe he doesn't like that. Maybe he's trying to divide us before things fall apart." Rick crumbled. He dropped to his knees, sputtering nonsense, swearing he was loyal. Then the warehouse door burst open. One of the goons shouted, "Boss, we're surrounded. It's the feds." The distraction was all I needed. I lunged, got Vince in a chokehold, yanked his pistol, and pressed the barrel to his temple. Nobody moved. I barked, dragging him backwards toward the wall. Vince let out a breathy, bitter laugh. So all of this was just a stall. I leaned in, growling in his ear. "You probably don't remember the name Nina Cole, but after today, you'll never forget it. She was your victim. Organ trafficking. You ruined her life. And I'm her brother." I pulled out my badge from inside my vest and held it up for the hidden cameras. "Vince Rinaldi," I said, voice like steel. "You're under arrest for human trafficking, illegal organ sales, and conspiracy to commit murder. The evidence is airtight. You're not walking away from this." The booming voice of a police negotiator echoed through the loudspeakers outside the warehouse. Everyone inside knew the game was over, everyone except Leon. He leaned into me, voice low and sharp as a blade. "Then we go out together," he growled, yanking the trigger wire on the vest strapped to my chest. But nothing happened. The vest was a fake. It had always been a bluff, and he just called it. After Vanessa got out of the hospital, sleep eluded her. She kept hearing that woman's voice, Riley, and the revelation that my wife and son had been dead for 5 years. A thought sparked in the dark. The next morning, she drove to the county records office and buried herself in dusty files from 5 years ago. Hours passed. Then one name jumped out at her. Nina Carter. Vanessa remembered me once murmuring that name. Nina, my pregnant girlfriend. And Carter, my last name. Her instincts screamed, "This is it." She pulled the file. Her breath caught in her throat. Nina was 20. Pregnant. Her death was grotesque. Her eyes gouged out. Her mouth sliced into a smile too wide, too wrong. Her body hollowed, organs gone. At the bottom of the report was a signature. Max Carter. And in the line marked relationship to deceased, one word, brother. Vanessa sat frozen, thunderstruck. Then came the tears. Raw, relentless, unstoppable. Alone in that cold, silent room, she finally understood. When she could breathe again, she stood. There were things she needed to know. She took a day off and drove to the old police academy to see her former mentor, a man she once trusted more than anyone. When she explained what brought her, he fell silent. "That's a classified operation, Vanessa. You don't have clearance." She dropped to her knees. He tried to pull her up, horrified, but she wouldn't move. "I don't want the man I love to die without knowing why he left me." That stopped him cold. After a long pause, he sighed. "Because of protocol, I can't tell you anything specific. But I will promise this, that we're doing everything we can to make sure he comes home." Vanessa's voice trembled. "Just tell me, when did the operation begin?" His eyes softened. 5 years ago. It all made sense now. The cold breakup. The sudden vanishing act. The way Max fell from grace overnight. He had been protecting her. The entire time. Her mentor gave her a photo. He said Max left it behind in case she ever came looking. "She'll figure it out," Max had told him. "She's sharp." It was a photo Max had taken of her. White dress, sunshine, laughter frozen in time. As she left the academy, her mentor's voice echoed behind her. "When you walk out that door, act like you never knew a man named Max Carter." And so she did. She returned to work, went through the motions. But every night, her heart ached. Her dreams were haunted by memories. Max sprinting down a track, lifting her in triumph. Max holding her through her anger until she smiled again. Mostly, she dreamed of the day they met. Rain-soaked alley. Max with a devilish grin telling her to ask nicely before turning to face down her bullies like a soldier stepping into battle. Sometimes, she'd wake and remember the time they fought, and Max waited outside her classroom. "Excuse me," she'd said coldly, brushing past. Max had just smiled, that signature crooked smile. "Sorry, I'm one obstacle you're never getting past." He was right. I woke to the blinding white of a hospital ceiling. The antiseptic stung my nose. I was alive, but something was wrong. I couldn't feel my right leg. The doctor came in. Then the suits followed, my old commanding officer included. "Max, you did it," he said, gripping my hand. "You and Agent Riley brought down the entire network. You're heroes." I blinked. "Riley. God. She's gone, isn't she?" I asked. He nodded. "We buried her with full honors. She was brave until the end. And the bomb? Never real. I'd never had time to make one." The package Riley told me to retrieve before I was taken, that was the final nail in the syndicate's coffin. The organization spanned several states. There were still agents out there. You need to lay low for a while, my CO said. Stay quiet. So I did. For weeks, I healed in silence. Then one day, I got a call from my old academy mentor. Vanessa came by, he said. She knows. Or she's close. I wasn't surprised. But I knew that I couldn't see her again. Not yet. Maybe not ever. I stared at the space where my right leg used to be. The prosthetic was clunky, the pain real. But I had no regrets. I took an oath. Protect and serve. Make sure no one else lost someone the way I did. Some nights, I wanted to give up. But in my dreams, Vanessa stood under a streetlight in her white dress, a sly smile on her lips. Yeah, I was playing you, she'd tease. What are you going to do about it? I'd always reply. Then let me be your game for the rest of your life. 3 years later, the case was officially closed. A national ceremony was held for those involved. My name was on the list. Standing hurt. The prosthetic pinched. But I endured. As I stepped off stage, my leg buckled slightly. Someone caught my arm. Officer Miller. You're one tough bastard, he grinned. Remember when I thought you were just another punk? Yeah, I smiled. What are you doing here? Security detail. But you look like you're searching for someone. Vanessa, I admitted. He hesitated. She was supposed to be on duty today, but she called out. Said she had a big event. We're guessing she's finally getting married. Just waiting on her to post it on Facebook or something. My heart sank. I looked down, not trusting my voice. After the ceremony, I slipped outside, hoping to vanish before the ache in my chest drowned me. Then I heard it. My name. I froze. Turned around. Vanessa. She was running toward me, sunlight catching in her hair, white dress flowing. She threw her arms around me. Officer, please, she said, half laughing. You have to help me. I smiled, voice low. Ask me nicely. She leaned in. Please, Max. She pulled back, her eyes lit with that same fire from all those years ago. I heard you weren't coming. I had to play a little trick. You playing me? I asked, heart pounding. She smirked. Yeah. What are you going to do about it? I pulled her in, holding her tight. You love playing games with me? I whispered. Then let me be your game. For the rest of your life. She looked up at me, smile tender. It's a deal.